What is going on? This is Michael Hacker with the Hacker Outdoors podcast. Today I'm joined with both Brian and Joey, where we get an update on Major League Fishing and the X Games. We then dive into our favorite American ski resorts, where we scour the internet for top lists to see how we fare against the pros. And then, of course, we circle back and find the East Coast mountain gems you may or may not have heard of. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave us a comment, a like, and without further ado, all right,
Off.
we are live. Welcome, gentlemen, and for those of you who are joining us at home today, thank you for joining us on the Hacker Outdoors podcast. You missed a little pre-show discussion. We were talking a little bit about the Wu-Tang Clan and seeing them in concert a few times. We will not be talking about Wu-Tang Clan today on this podcast. However, we will, definitely recommend Wu-Tang's for the kids. So definitely enjoy it. Get out there, listen to it. Guys, thank you for joining. It is wicked out there today. We have some nasty wind chill going on, and stay warm. This had me thinking of snowboarding, so that's going to be the topic of the day. However, before we did jump into that, Joe, you had some Major League Fishing news that you had shared with us.
Well, yeah, today was the first day of, let's see, where is that? Today was the first Toyota Series event on Sam Rayburn. So I guess it's the Southern Series. They weighed in for the first day not too long ago, and lo and behold, Dakota E-Bear is leading with 23 pounds even. So they were catching some pretty big ones. Trying to see what the Co's weights were. The pros, I mean, they're bringing some weight in. I mean, everybody in the top 5 is 20 pounds or more, and let's see how far it goes down. And no, 10th place is 18. So I mean, they're catching them. They're definitely catching them. The co-anglers were catching them too. A guy named John Grobel in first place with the co-anglers with 18.4 with 5 fish, which good limit there for a co-angler.
Wow. Yeah, crushing it.
And that ends on the 30th, so they'll cut down to 10 people on what's that? It's going to be Saturday. So that's Sam Rayburn in Texas. So we'll see how that goes.
And they've been producing Sam Rayburn. I mean, that's like
oh yeah, Sam Rayburn's a monster. I mean, that's one of those places like on the bucket list to go fish. Definitely Texas, Florida. The bigs live there, and it looks like it's been really cool down in Texas too. I mean, they had snow last week.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool down there today too for takeoff. So the bigs are showing up. So we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the week.
Yeah, yeah.
I was excited to see that, the first Toyota event of the year. I think that was the first one of the year. Pretty sure it was.
I think you're right. I might be wrong on that, though.
There might have been one in California. I think there's a California.
Well, we don't count that.
Too, but I don't think there's been one yet. But yeah, it's cold right now. I mean, Jasper, Texas today was 44 in the morning, high of 56, which is cold down there. And overnight tonight it's supposed to be 38 down there in Rayburn. So that's chilly down there. Yeah, it looks like Friday 40 is the high. Saturday warms up a little bit, but yeah. But I mean, they're catching them.
Well, no, that's awesome. We wish all those guys good luck down there, and hope they crush it and start breaking some records. Right? Great beginning to a season. That's huge.
The other day? Mikey Ball's fishing. He's a YouTube guy. He's a good fisherman. He caught a 13.6 the other day down in Florida. 13.6 on a crankbait. I mean, monster fish. And before that, he caught like a 9, 2 9s, and a 7. I mean, the bigs are biting down there, 100%. So, if you're down there, Texas, Florida, I mean, get out and fish. You're going to catch the big ones, 100%.
I always love fishing in Florida this time of year. We would always make somewhat of a trip down there, and for the past decade or so, last year and the year before, I think 2 years ago was last year we were down there this time, and man, we would crush it. I mean, these bass, oh my gosh, some of the fondest memories of bass fishing. Brian's smirking because he knows, man, these secret spots. It's like everyone's like, "Oh, you're going ocean fishing."
Nope.
No, we're bass fishing.
Yep.
Florida is one of those places everybody's got to get to before,
Oh yeah.
other times, Okeechobee, all those places, and they have that new lake down there that opened that's just producing monsters. I always forget the name of it, but it just opened this year to the boat traffic. It was open for kayaks for like a year.
Oh, they
Hard to
opened
hear
it for boat traffic. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they're catching absolute monsters. Headwaters Lake. It used to be old farmland, and
Yeah.
they made a lake way back when on there, and they kept it closed to the public for years. And then like a year or two ago, they let some kayaks come on there, and this year boats were allowed to go out and catching bigs. Scott Martin, his daughter went out there and did a video, and I think his daughter caught like a 9.8, and he had like a 9 something too. I mean, they
Wow.
just breeding big down there. Those Florida strains are huge, man. Short and
They're
huge.
big.
We know a little bit about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those
Awesome.
places too where every little body of water could have a really big fish in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throughout the entire state of Florida.
And there's
awesome.
tons of water down there too. I mean,
Yeah.
there's tons and tons of bass fishing water down there.
Mhm.
That's the best part. And the weather's warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
I had-
rarely do they get a cold spell.
I had to do a work trip down there 2 years ago, I think it was, and we were down in Orlando, not at Disney, but outside of Disney. And we're on this golf course, and I bring my 10-car rod everywhere with me just because it's easy to travel with. And I didn't bring it with me there because I knew that catching a bass that size that I've caught down in Florida would just destroy my 2.8 10-car. But I'm walking along the course, just taking a look at these ponds that are there, hundreds of them. And I catch these guys fishing, and I said to him, oh, I was like, you guys know the secret, huh? I go, they don't kick you out here, do they? And he's like, no. He's like, I come here every time, and this is my buddy. He's staying at the hotel for the conference that I was at, and he's like, man, we've been crushing it today. He's like, we caught like 15 fish so far. I'm like, yeah, see, that's the secret, man. I was like, you just make friends with the groundskeepers, and nobody kicks you out. Just be
Even if you're
respectful.
Orlando's got amazing bass fishing around it. It's Harris Chain's right there. Harris Chain has monster bass in there. I mean, that and Disney property has monsters. I mean, there's charters on Disney property to go bass fishing in there. All those lagoons connect to all those lakes and the Harris Chain. I mean, big fish, big fish. If you're
Well,
down there, I mean, look into it. I mean, I know there's several.
Yeah.
There's a charter I'm in touch with. I forget the name of his company, but he does it right out of Disney. I mean, if you're staying in Disney, come pick you up and take you out, and you'll catch monsters.
Well, I think that's the goal. Like, even if you were going down there for vacation and you're thinking, okay, let me go sail fishing because that's the, prevailing thought when you're down there, right? Or do some ocean fishing. Check out the bass fishing. You will not be disappointed. It is unbelievable. Even if you don't go to Okeechobee, check out bass fishing locally in whatever town you are. I guarantee you that little local pond or little local lake has monsters, like Brian said, 100%. So that's
Florida, dude, to me, and the most bass anglers, they think Florida and Texas. I mean, you got Okeechobee, you got the Harris Chain of lakes, which is like in the Orlando area. You got the St. Johns River. I mean, if you just look at a map of Florida and just around Orlando, there's so many lakes, huge bass, and they spawn constant year round. Because of the temperatures, they're just constantly making babies.
yeah, not like here where it's one time a year and
No, yeah, where they get that one window. No, they just have multiple cycles spawn down there, and just beast come out of there, man.
yeah, no, that's awesome. We'll have to do a field trip, the three of
Oh,
us.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
uh, do a around the world fishing tour of Florida. I think you both would like that very much, and so would I. So pivoting a little bit, the X Games, right? Is it the X Games is beginning this week?
Yeah, it's starting this weekend. I think isn't Aspen this year, Joe? I forget.
It's
I think it's at
Buttermilk
Aspen.
Aspen, yeah. Pretty much
Yeah.
every year it's Aspen. I don't think it's been away from there in a long while, yeah.
It's exciting. Growing up, we all of us as extreme sport fans, would look forward to X Games and and watching on ESPN or wherever it's playing. And this year will be a little different, I'm sure. Like everything else, but It's gonna be good. I did see that Mark McMorris dropped out. I think he's got a positive test right now, so I think there's gonna be a few athletes that happens to, but it's still gonna be fun to watch. So everybody should
Yeah,
definitely check it out.
it
Yeah,
kicks off tomorrow with women's slope style and women's big air, and then you got the knuckle huck, which is incredible at 8:30 p.m. and then
Hmm.
women's super pipe.
Well,
So
and then
fun.
they did say that no spectators are allowed. This
Yeah.
is completely closed to public. This is going through, obviously the 31st, so Sunday. But man, it's always such a pleasure to watch the X Games. I
Oh yeah.
absolutely enjoy it. Do my best to catch it, and sometimes I miss it. And then you, of course, Brian, message me and say, "Hey, Mike, are you watching?" So I'm not a big TV watcher, so I do tend to stream things a little bit.
Plus the list of the riders, like snowboarders, is always the best. I mean,
Yeah.
you got
Top notch.
Stale, Jamie Anderson, Marcus Cleveland, Red Gerard, Sven Florgan. I mean, Sean White, such Seb Toots is there. I mean, it's just the best of the best. Absolute the best of the best. And the course
What
looks
is?
sick. Absolutely sick.
I was just gonna say, what is your favorite
Who's my favorites?
contest?
My favorite contest?
Favorite
I don't know.
contest?
LAX is pretty sick.
Yeah.
LAX put some sick comps on. The Open Series is always fun, but LAX just for some reason always has the biggest jumps and just the best snow. I mean, X Games is cool. X Games is fun. I like it. The Knuckle Huck last year was really fun. It was cool to see Zeb Powell win, who's originally from North Carolina and just an absolute ripper. He had to back out this year because he got injured late last season, early this season. He had surgery, so he had to unfortunately back out. But I mean, that Knuckle Huck last year with him was just insane to watch. I mean, that kid's an ungodly rider. Like I said, he grew up in North Carolina, but his parents um, actually sent him to school, snowboard school in I think it's Stratton. You have a whole program up there for riders and skiers where you do school a couple hours a day and then you ride a couple hours a day and pretty much training to be an Olympian or pro or make this your career.
True story. Green Mountain College, right? That's I looked into
Yeah,
going to school there because I
couple,
love
yeah.
outdoor activities, and it's amazing that's something that you can do, right? Like we were talking about, not knowing that pro fishing could be something you could do, or even fishing in college as a sport. Like I was completely unaware that you could do that. Um, eh, but like you can actually go to school and study snowboarding, and like you live right there on the mountain, right?
This
Um,
this is a funny story. I think it was the first year Woodward had skateboarding. I was actually there. My cousin Chris went. It was like the first or second year they had skaters at Woodward because Woodward used to actually be a gymnastic camp. That was really the only type of thing they had growing up, and it wasn't what it is now. Now these kids, they're going out west for the summer, riding all summer, at High Cascade or the other camps out in Pacific and just shredding year round. So, gives them a whole option to make that their career. It's a lot. It's a lot. And for those kids to go stay away from home from their parents for months and months at a time. And it's a lot of work too to get to that point where these girls get to.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. And you look at, I was watching, into martial arts, and I know Brian is too, and I think Joe, you like MMA. I think we've talked about it a number of times, and like these fighters coming out of the Eastern Bloc, and of course Russia. It's like these kids start training at pretty much young children, 5 years old, right? And you're developing skills that if of course things progress correctly, they don't get injured and everything like that, these are going to be the athletes of the future. And I think we as Americans, that's kind of fallen behind, right? Like at least where we live, like we don't think of training kids like you think of um, the work that Tiger Woods' father had put him through since a young age. It really brought him into the game of golf from that time and really created the champion that he became. And you really need to replicate something like that if you're going to truly excel at a sport. We used to work at a hockey rink, and I remember parents would be screaming left and right all the time about how their kid's going to be, you know, the star player of the NHL sometime, or these figure skating parents. It would be, my kid's going to be in the Olympics for that. And it's like It's like, yeah, it's great. Your kid's been practicing since day one on that, but you're practicing in New Jersey, and not under former Olympians and not, great champions. The likelihood is that's not going to happen. But with the advent of all this new information that's out there, like you said, these kids are going to camps from a young age, and they're being able to, in the case of snowboarding and skiing, rip from young age and learn from the best and do it almost all year round, right? um, that's phenomenal. I mean, and that's going to make these people and us as America very competitive in the sports world for years to come, and it's necessary.
Yeah, I almost feel like there's been a shift recently where, at least when we were younger, we used to play every sport every season. Like, when the season changes, you switch whatever sport you're playing, right? So winter you're playing basketball, spring you're playing baseball or lacrosse, and then summer fall ball. I mean, summer ball, baseball, or whatever. You would go to summer basketball camp, Mike, up in Allentown. But I think nowadays, I notice parents have kids sticking to one game. It's been a big kind of like dynamic shift, at least, just now. So if a kid's a hockey player, they're going to play hockey year round. If they're going to be a, skateboarder, they're going to Camp Woodward. During the winter, they're going to the indoor skate parks, around the country. It's I think, we're shifting kind of as a culture when it comes to sports, and it's going to take a generation for us to catch up. I think we're a little behind right now when it comes to, when you watch any professional sport, people out of other countries, they're crisper when it comes to their talent across the board. We have the
sports.
one-off
I mean,
talents.
we got
Exactly.
baseball, we got football.
Yeah,
I mean, when I played baseball, I mean, if you wanted to play pro, you had to go play, move down south so you could play all year long,
Yep.
and that existed. But yes, other sports are coming around. Like if they had snowboard camp in school, like when I was growing up, I would have done that, and I can guarantee you I would have went pro. We just didn't have it. We didn't have that opportunity. And I think Wendell started coming along when I was like 15, 16, but at that time
It's too late.
through the roof, and they didn't have all these sessions, and it's just a whole nother.
But I hate to say it, but at that point, it's almost too late for you to go to a camp like that and really become the level that you need to be, right? Um, I mean, there's a reason why, we talk a lot about surfing and snowboarding, but like there's a reason why people are really good at those sports, grew up in areas where the best surf and the best mountains are,
With
right?
snowboarding,
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
the snowboarding is all about time on the snow, though. That's the biggest thing is time on the snow, and
Right.
being able to have the better parks around you. And they don't need to be the best, like just good parks with
Mm-hmm.
progressive terrain and whatnot.
You
But
know,
you
I
need to be on the snow as much as possible.
the guy who designed the new Mountain Creek Park, I forget his name, but he's a famous park designer for snowboarding. One of us can look it up in a second. But when I saw that, I actually immediately thought to myself, I was like, all right, so out of Mountain Creek, who's the next Danny Cass?
Oh, they already
because
had it. Yeah, they already. I
they're
forget the kid's name.
they're gonna have this new park, and the guy running the parks here at Mountain Creek, and kids are gonna be riding the best terrain park on the East Coast for the foreseeable future, and it's gonna create somebody very good. But back to time on the snow, it takes me a good solid, I'd say, 4 sessions to really feel smooth again on my snowboarding, and it's I think that goes a long way for progression as well. You're not really going to progress until you're doing it consistently.
100%. You're 100% correct on that. But speaking of snow resorts, I was, obviously we were talking about Chris Barbieri last one. He was up in Vermont, right? My buddy Julian's moving to South Carolina. He was telling me he was just up at Mountain Creek and sent some pictures. It looked great. Brian, you sent me videos from Creek. It looked great. But that really got me going and thinking of, I had an opportunity to work for a business right out of college, and it was a ski travel company, and it was pretty cool. The job itself and the internship didn't work out, unfortunately, but always had these ideas of these big ski resorts out west that, are top tier places to visit. Um, and it got me wondering if you had to travel or if you could travel anywhere to snowboard in the United States, what resort would you choose?
It's kind of a loaded question for me because I would go straight back to Montana.
Yeah.
But let's say if I wouldn't go back to somewhere I know, you know, well, Big Sky is just, there's, to me there was nowhere comparable. But from what I hear too of people that moved there and live there now and say there's not much comparison between there and anywhere else, maybe Jackson. But I think I would like to go to Jackson, Wyoming. Um, Jackson Hole. Um, but I'm sure everybody out there kind of has this idea of Colorado in their heads and kind of those mountains. A few of my friends who are avid snowboarders and travel for snowboarding, they would say that that Lake Tahoe is the place to be with sheer snowfall. Right? I see Joe's face. He's making.
No, you think it's called. So if you know people in the know, they call it Sierra cement. They don't get the dry powder that Colorado gets. You'll get like a wet powder, and like if you go watch videos, like granted they'll get dry pow days occasionally, but most of the time it's Sierra cement. Like watching Casey Willex's vlog from like a year ago, and it was like Sierra powder, and like literally it looked like they were riding cement because there's just so much moisture in the snow. It's like
Suck into their board.
you just can't beat the powder that you. I mean, in that dry snow, I mean, it's like being on air. But if I could go anywhere in North America, probably be Whistler or Lake Louise, Whistler.
Well, what about in America?
America?
Yeah,
Continental.
continental United States. Yeah.
Summit County, somewhere in Summit. I would stay in Summit County, Colorado,
So,
hands down.
so
Or
I would-
Utah. Utah
you,
gets maybe Snowbird, like Brighton, Snowbird. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
One between Colorado and Utah.
all right. No, that's fair. I think Utah would be cool because that's not some place that I have been for snowboarding or any kind of outdoor activities except for hiking and doing canyoneering and whatnot.
Yes, the new pro out of Mountain Creek is Sean Neary. He rips. He's on the Red Bull team.
Yeah.
Huh.
Thought I'd throw that in there.
So U.S. News ranked the top 12 ski resorts in the United States, and your former home, Breckenridge, Colorado, hit
Froze up
number
there.
one. Um, me or Joe? Who froze?
You froze, Mikey.
Oh, all right.
You did.
Maybe it's my VPN. Hold on one second. There we go. Is that better?
Yep.
All right. So, your old stomping ground, Breckenridge, Colorado, hit number one on the U.S. News report here of top ski destinations. No big surprise there. It says that nearly 3,000 acres of skiable terrain across 187 trails, and with an annual snowfall averaging around 300 inches winter.
Yeah,
That's
a lot. The winter I was there, it was way over that. It was. Right now, I'm looking at snowpack, and it looks like they have the best right now.
At Breck?
Yeah.
no surprise there, man. Cool town. I have a love-hate relationship with Breckenridge for other reasons. And one of these days, if my book gets published, some of you people will find that out. Um, number two is Park City. I think I just like to see Park City. I don't know if it truly belongs on there. I don't know. I feel like
Utah Park City is insane.
I know it's
Yeah.
insane. It's not on my top of the list of places to visit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number three is, of course, Jackson Hole, which is absolutely on my top 10, I would say. Vail, followed by Steamboat Springs. Brian, your Big Sky, Montana comes in at 6. One of my favorite places to visit, Telluride, comes in at number 7. And number 8 is good old Aspen. Now, Joe, did you board in Aspen when you were out in Colorado?
I've been to Aspen. I never rode Aspen, but if you're out there, you got to see Vail. I mean, Vail is so ungodly huge. The amount of turn, I can't even explain it to you, but pretty much think of it like this: they have lifts that go up the mountain, then down, then up, then down, then up. It's
to,
huge,
to get you where you gotta
huge.
go.
I
That's
mean, you could
crazy.
spend years there and probably not touch every piece of terrain they have.
That's
It is
awesome.
huge, absolutely
That's
huge.
that's why I like Big Skies, because I went 4 hours without seeing another person other than the lift operator on the one side of the mountain. I like that. I think, with a group of friends that you can keep track of each other. Go somewhere where you can kind of just do your own thing and not see anybody, not run anyone. That's the best.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Breck's huge too. People used to say, you know, if you don't really know the Breck Mountain, some people say, "Oh, Breck's flat, doesn't have that great of blah 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 blah." They just don't know the mountain. You have to spend time there and really learn the mountain and learn where to go. You know, unfortunately, most tourists or people come from out of town stay, either at Peak 8, Peak 7, blah blah blah. They stay in one little area. They don't go exploring. I mean, it is tons of terrain there too. But so does Copper and A Basin. I mean, it's just a different world out there if you haven't been out there. I mean, Utah is absolutely gorgeous and some of the best snow conditions ever, ever.
Yeah, of course, Aspen always conjures up memories of Dumb and Dumber. Uh, right?
Steamboat now, Steamboat's absolutely amazing too, absolutely amazing. But there's a place that's more foo-foo than Aspen is Beaver Creek, which they get incredible snow too and have really good riding.
That was on a list that I
Yeah,
had saw, and you know, actually, so through this list, Taos, New Mexico's on here, and they finish out with Sun Valley, but number 10, they have the Finger Lakes here in New York, um,
Mm.
which is interesting.
You
that's
want to
Finger
get
Whiteface,
Lakes.
really,
correct?
really, really, really cold?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Let's talk about the East Coast real quick. I mean,
Base
w-
Peak,
would you
hands down.
would you put Whiteface and the Finger Lakes region over Jay Peak or the Northern Mountains? Let's say who else? What else is up there?
Sugarloaf and Jay's Peak are on a whole
Yeah,
another level. Uh, Jay's Peak has what they call the J Cloud. It's kind of where they're situated, out farther from the coast, and I think it's Champlain up there. They have like their own storm systems, and they'll just
yeah.
get socked in with the snow coming off the lake, and they get over 300 inches a year. It just dumps. And I've been there when we've gotten 3 feet, but the only problem is bitter, 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 bitter cold. I mean, the one
Yeah.
day we were there and it was a powder day. It was so cold when you would breathe in through your nose, you could feel the actual nose hairs. You can't even see in your nose freeze. Like you could feel it freezing. So cold. Sugarloaf actually has above tree line riding. Like that's way up in Maine. They get a good bit of snow too. But Jay's Peak is, from what I've seen, is as close as you can get to riding out west on the East Coast as far as terrain, the glades, the powder. It's steep. Like one of the steepest runs I've ever seen is at Jay's Peak underneath their tram, underneath their gondola. That run's absolutely insane, insane.
well,
It's legendary.
snowpack.com. Yeah, snowpack.com has best list of top 10 East Coast mountains, right? So Mont Tremblant is number one, right? Feels like you're in a
Mm.
European ski town with the transatlantic air
That
without
place
the
is like,
transatlantic airfare price. Yeah,
see,
looks
some of these,
cool.
some of these,
Killington Resort.
some of these things, I swear, they pay to get in there. Mount Tremblant is
100%.
not a big resort. Certain people like it because you're in Quebec and it's. I guess you feel like you're in a different. I mean, you are in a different country and they speak a different language, and they have the village in Mount Tremblant. But it's, if I was going to spend
Yeah.
money to,
Well,
to go somewhere,
yeah, I guess maybe if I was up there, right? But Killington comes in at number two, followed by Stowe. Followed by number four would be Jay's Peak, right? It says highlight snowiest ski resort in the East, huge indoor water park, climbing gym, and much more. New base area includes luxury lodging. However, there is no nightlife or real town nearby. Okay,
yeah.
well, that's
So
not
so
really a
February
problem.
9th, 2020, Jay's Peak number one, snowiest in the East Coast. Average annual snowfall 359 inches. See,
Wow.
I think
Wow.
like Stratton and Killington and Treplank always go high on the list and Stowe because they have like that
The
down
whole
what they call it, like the base area and the après-ski, the downtown, and
people like you can go and resort
right.
end of it. Meanwhile, I'll give a shout out to the favorite resort I was on the West Coast, in the mountains, Montana, was Bridger Bowl. When you're at the bottom of Bridger Bowl, which is, when you're a skier or snowboarder, it's a big, famous, kind of low key mountain. There's nothing there. There's just people drinking beer in a parking lot at the end of the day.
Yeah,
they just turn the lifts off.
That place stays open in the summer too.
Yeah, it's incredible. But I think there's definitely a difference between that type of mountain and, let's say, a Jay Peak and a Killington. You're going to Jay Peak for legitimately for the riding, to stay in a cabin with whoever you're with, versus going to Killington. You're going for the kind of, the nightlife that comes with a ski resort.
Jay's Peak's also really cool too, because it's so close to Quebec that there's a lot of French speaking. You do kind of feel like you're in another planet. I mean, that place is just gorgeous in the snow they get. But another good place on the East Coast is Snowshoe. Snowshoe, West Virginia gets a ton of snow. People don't realize that. They average over 200 inches a year.
Wow.
But again, freezing cold.
Yeah, cold temperatures.
Yeah.
I mean,
like today, it's gonna be 10 degrees tonight. Is it tonight? No, this weekend.
This weekend, yeah, with the wind chill, it's going to be even chillier than that. So we did get an update from Julian, who was up at Mountain Creek. He said that the gondola was just an incredibly long, stupid wait.
Yeah.
He said singles were getting their own cab constantly, so that was pushing everything back for people who were there in groups. So he did say that if you're one for social distancing, even when you're out, maybe you do not want to be going to Mountain Creek and go snowboarding, because you're waiting in line and you're not adhering to the 6 feet minimum. Now, if you're okay with that, like a lot of people are, then by all means go do it, but you're going to be waiting for a long time to get on the lifts there. He did say the conditions were pretty decent. It is cold. They've been blowing snow. If you follow them on Instagram or any of the social media platforms, you would have seen that there were some nice conditions. Some guys were shredding, and Mountain Creek was reposting, which is always nice to see other people riding before you get up there, because in my mind it's still, I don't know, it's still a little crummy out to be getting up there, but I might be wrong. Maybe Monday, when we get 5 to 8 inches of snow, we'd get a fresh pow day. And it'll be a different story. So, maybe we'll be singing our tune a little bit differently. Ice fishing has begun, Joe. I wanted to tell you. So I did see a bunch of the lakes up here have about 2-inch base ice, which is awesome. I'm hoping that, by next week, maybe it'll be a little bit thicker. And I do not have any ice fishing gear, but I do know someone who does. So I would love, asked him actually if I could borrow his gear and get out on Lake Hopatcong, to see how that goes. So I'll keep you posted, everyone that's listening, on that one. Guys, any last words before we do bounce? Joe, you're on mute. You're on mute, though. Joe.
Seven Springs in Pennsylvania is probably one of the top East Coast resorts, especially if you want to ride park. Their park is insane. It's a good size, very good sized mountain. A lot of skiable acres.
I'm
That
Googling
place
it right now.
is incredible and gets a lot of snow too. So to throw that out there too, because that's where we used to ride there a lot. We'd make the ride about 3 hours from us to go ride there.
Whereabouts in PA is that?
They actually had this super park there a couple of years ago, Transworld Super Park. I mean, their park is on point. It's always up there, top rated, top 25.
Wow.
If you want someplace to check out, definitely check out Seven Springs, and they've been getting a lot of snow lately.
Oh, good feedback, Joe.
Definitely.
Thank you. Brian, any last words?
No, nothing. Just get outside, guys. Enjoy the weather and the cold, and go ski or snowboard, go for a hike, or go ice fish, whatever you got to do.
Awesome. Gentlemen, always a pleasure. I hope you both have a great weekend. To the listeners, thank you for listening. We ask that if you did like this, please go ahead and subscribe on whatever channel you are listening to this on. And also give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're doing it there. Leave us a comment and a rating on the social media platforms, whatever. We are kind of all over the place now, so we do have a Facebook page as well as Gab and some of these newer ones. Rumor has it Joe is creating a TikTok so we can do some of those silly dances.
Oh, oh,
The nephews did ask for me to do that. I said I will.
yeah.
We'll talk about that offline. But stay safe, everyone, and thank you for tuning in.
Later, brothers.
Later, guys.
Later.
All right, so that was the Hacker Outdoors podcast with Michael Hacker, Brian Hacker, and of course, Joey McCormick. If you like what you heard, please give us a rating on whatever platform you're listening to or watching this on. Please check the show notes for some links about the topics we discussed today. And as always, we thank you for listening.